All right. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today with Sue Slotterback, and we're going to be learning about how junk journaling can be combined with nature journaling. Welcome to the show, Sue.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great. Well, since we have such a visually oriented audience, let's maybe see some of your recent nature journal or examples of nature journal slash junk journal pages. And maybe you could tell us while you're showing some of those pages, in a few words, maybe try to define junk journaling. I know that might be hard, but let's see some of your pages and hear what junk journaling is for you.
All right, I'm going to jump over to my document cam.
Great.
And then that way, I have my hands free there. Okay, so this is my junk journal. And it's a homemade journal. I made it out of, it's an old hanging file folder. And this is the first page that I did on it. Junk journaling is just taking things and making them a little bit more dimensional, looking at some of the pieces and parts of things that you would probably throw out, but using them again. So this was the idea for this one, was that every spread would be a week. So there's 52 spreads in here, but it didn't take me long to figure out that was not going to happen. Because it is a little bit more intensive. You really have to think about what you're doing and how you're going to lay it out. Like up here, my intention was that was the first week in January. And then I'll show you the next page. But basically it was snowing and I did my bird feeding station that I have right outside my window. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the week, I went to Virginia. And so these are my ferry tickets across the Delaware Bay.
Oh.
And then here's the second week. So I started it up this way. And so the first part of the week is here. So I'm in Chickatig and with my friends, and these are some of the things we saw. And these are some of the maps that I found.
Oh, great idea.
And so just a cool way of putting them in there. And then the next part is I'm back here in New Jersey, and a friend of mine and I just happened to be in a parking lot and we were talking, but there were these geese and we were watching the geese. Mm-hmm. And then on the weekend, we went for a drive and I noticed that along the parkway, the trees were different colors, but I knew they were the same species. So why were they different colors? Well, they were male and female. So I've got male here and female there. And that's just the real deal. I cut that out of my yard, and it's just packing tape. Nothing.
Yes.
And then I'm doing a class at a library, and this was the first day, and we took a walk out. This is just a little map of the library and all the gardens, a list of what we saw. And again, I cut stuff out of packing tape and put the real deal in there. And then I made this other little thing to go with it. So, and this is just an envelope. And you'll see that it's, I have that fear, just like a lot of people do, of that blank page. So one of the first things I do is make it not blank. And I got coffee and just let it go where it was going.
Nice.
And so no more blank page. And now I can go and mess it up on my own.
Wow, that is so cool. I think that gives a really great introduction to how it looks when junk journaling is combined with nature journaling.
Yeah.
And thanks for sort of defining it there. I guess my next question then would be, how do you define nature journaling?
For me, nature journaling is getting out and really noticing what's out there. I've been an environmental educator for over 40 years, and one of the biggest things is people just are not connected. They don't see what their connection is. And so I've been doing nature journaling off and on with my classes, just to get kids or whoever my audience was to stop and look and listen and write it down. Because if you just keep it in your head, there's too much stuff in your head. If you write it down, it kind of solidifies it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, like when I have like scout programs and stuff, I'll always make like a little journal for them that has what the requirement is, and they have some place where they can write down.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the coolest things is a while ago, years ago, I used to work at this nature center that was on Cape May Harbor. And I had the kids make their own nature journals out of clam. These are actually scallop shells.
Wow. I was trying to imagine this since I read about this. I've been trying to imagine how that worked.
Yeah, I'm trying to get
that is just that is amazing. I've never heard of that. Is a very unique journal right there.
Yeah. And so there's nothing really in this one. It's just I used to have one of the kids, one of the ones that the kids did, but we just took pages of newspapers and construction paper and things like that, and we laid the clam or the shell on top of it and then just ripped around it so that the pages fit it. And then each child had a bucket that had a strip of watercolors, tape, scissors, pen, like markers, crayons. And then we went down to the beach and they used their bucket to sit on as a seat. But then they had this journal that they could put anything in. So they could take their tape and press it into the sand and put it in the thing, or they could tape down seaweed. They even got mud snails, dipped them in the water, and then put them in the non-toxic strip, and then let them crawl around on their page. So the mud snail was doing their nature journaling for them.
Yeah,
that was fun.
I can see why you called these interactive journals, and I just love the idea that there's so many ways to interact with the paper besides just, in nature journaling, we talk about how we have 3 languages of images, words, and numbers, but this is like bringing in, these aspects of nature that sometimes are more tactile, that we normally can't. So I think that is really cool. And just seeing a junk journal inside of scallop shells. I mean, I've been trying to watch a lot of junk journaling videos on YouTube and stuff, and there's a lot of original things, but I feel like those junk journals in the clam shells or scallop shells, that's like on a whole nother level. So I think that's really cool. Maybe you could, speaking of, junk journaling videos and sort of, you mentioned that you made those ones before junk journaling was a term. So it seems to me that there are more people doing, like if you look up junk journaling videos, there's way more videos about that than about nature journaling. So why do you think there are so many more people doing junk journaling than nature journaling?
Well, I think that nature journaling implies that you have to have these beautiful pictures, and people are very intimidated by that. You've run across that. And I think that a junk journal just allows them to do collage. Collage is not that hard. You get some nice, pretty pictures and put them together, or in this case, like envelopes, and then you put stuff in it, and you're still getting that thought process about nature and how there are connections to nature, but it's not saying you have to have a pretty picture.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It sort of takes pressure off of the artistic aspect in a way. So,
And a lot of times I'll look at those videos, the junk journaling stuff, and I get a lot of ideas like how to different ways of using that envelope or different ways of different things that I can pull in. So they're really cool things to go for ideas.
great. Well, that leads right into my next question, which is why should nature journalers know about junk journaling?
I think it's just a different alternative that they can, like a lot of people might look at a nature journal and go, oh, I really, really wish I could do this. Well, do it. Just start with this. Start with making little samples and putting them in, like it doesn't take much to get packing tape. And now you have something that you can take home and you can really look at it a little bit better. And you can take this and then you can draw it.
Yeah.
If that's what makes you feel better, or leave it till another time, but just get out there and do it.
I'm going to share this comment from Angie that I think is really in alignment with what you're just saying. So maybe you could read that. And that sort of seems like what you're talking about, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then speaking of Angie had a question too, I think, about the packing tape. Do you, and maybe from the leaves that you showed earlier, do you press them before you put them in the packing tape, or do you just do the packing tape right away?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That makes it so easy. Okay. Let me ask you then, how do you think we can get more junk journalers into sort of, when you define nature journaling, I do want to point out that it seemed like your definition of nature journaling had more to do with the experience in nature and less to do with like what you're actually making, which I think is a really interesting way of defining it and really important because it's talking about that connection of the person and how we observe. So how do you think we can get more junk journalers into nature journaling, or maybe using junk journaling as a conduit to connect to nature instead of, because it's like we could just be cutting up fashion magazines and buying stuff on Etsy to put into our junk journals. Not everybody is using the junk journal as a way to learn about the natural world that's around them. So how do you think would be possible to get more people from that community aware of how their tool that they're using right now could actually be connecting them with the natural world?
I don't know, Marley. I think that, for me, the first thing is you've got to have an interest in nature. Now, if you Google like nature junk journal, a lot of times you'll come up with some really beautiful things. But again, they're the pieces and parts have come from an Etsy store or something that they bought at Michael's or whatever. And they're beautiful, but they're not the kind of nature journal, junk journal that I was going for. So to bring the junk journaling community into nature journaling, I think that's got to be like an interesting thing. They need to have that interest first.
Got it. That makes total sense. Okay, so that's really interesting. All right, so then my next question is, what is if you could only give a nature journaler one junk journaling technique, what would be like one junk journaling technique that anybody who's watching right now, I know there's a lot of people in the audience, it seems like, who've done junk journaling, but for all of these other nature journalers, like what is like one single junk journaling technique that they could just take right now and learn from you and start using it?
I would say learn to fold paper, because you can make these really cool things and they open up into something that could be a map, or it could be each little space here could be something else that you've noticed, So I think folding paper is like a really immediate thing that you can do.
Yeah, I love that one. What was that one that you had that had like different leaves and plants on it and it all folded in? I don't know if it was an accordion.
This is easy. This is one piece of paper
Oh yeah, that is really cool.
Okay. There's the other part down here. All right. And you fold it in, for this one, I folded it in half.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then folded it in half again, and then in half again. And then I open it up. And then you cut it all the way up to that last line.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just an accordion fold.
And it's like a little book.
It is like a little book. I've used this a lot of times with scouts and kids to say, okay, we're going to make a nature journal and we're going to go outside with it.
Yeah, so that's almost, you could basically make your own nature journal that way.
Yeah.
That could be really good for people who are getting started or bringing their kids and don't want to buy something, you know. Sometimes it's a little bit hard for a class. You don't know if you want to buy a whole journal for all the participants.
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's just one more that's really super easy. One page. And of course, the larger the page you have, the bigger the journal you're going to have. So this is just a 8.5 by 12, right?
Yeah.
And so you fold it in half, and you fold it in half again. All right. And then once you've got all your folds, you cut again just into that first line.
Mm-hmm.
Really easy.
I think I'm gonna, when I write up a blog post about this video, I think I'm gonna have to include some instructions on how to do these, because it seems,
Yeah.
I just want to point out that myself was surprised, but also Angie said, I totally did not expect her to say learn how to fold paper as the one junk journaling technique. So I think this is a really cool concept, and that you've thought about that a lot.
Yeah. So that last little thing I did with kids, and I had them tape up the sides, and now it's a pocket journal. They can put stuff in it.
Nice. Yeah, and then these are the kinds of things, like if we folded something up like that and just glued it onto a page in our nature journal, it suddenly creates this more, like you said, three-dimensional aspect inside of our nature journal. That is so cool. Great. All right. Well, my next question, and I think this is a lot of people are probably wondering this also, is what does one of your sessions look like? Like, do you go outside and bring these materials with you and sort of have like a workstation at like a bench in a park and do all of it there? Or do you, like, you know, take photos and then notes and then come back home to your studio and kind of piece things together? Or what is could you kind of walk us through like what one of your sessions would look like, and if you're hybridizing different aspects of those, how it goes?
So like when I'm doing it in my own journal?
Yeah, sure. Like sort of, I guess you described it a little bit to me in your email about how your process is, but just kind of an idea of how that flow would be.
So first off, when I go out, because I've been an environmental educator, not 9 times out of 10, I have like 20 people with me. And I'm like, when I go out, I just want to go, you know, like not have to think. I do think, because that's just the way it is. And something will catch my eye, and that'll start the ideas going. And the ideas are, how can I put this into a journal? So with that first, well, the one I did for, I had a scout group, and I was thinking about how can I do this as a journal? And then afterwards, it took me a long time to really figure out how I was going to do it. I just constantly think about it. And so I have to get this idea, and then it's the logistics of how do I put this together and what can I use to put together? Am I going to use folded paper? Am I going to use envelopes? So it depends on what I'm doing, and it depends on what I'm seeing out there. If I'm going into like the woods, it's really easy because there's plants everywhere. Okay. If I am going out on the beach, it's a little more complicated. It's, can't put shells in here very easily.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically maybe like going out and sort of your focus, especially because a lot of the times you're in a teaching role when you're in nature, your focus when you're on your own is just to kind of enjoy being there. And so you might be coming up with ideas and collecting supplies. And then when you come home to your studio, then you put that together. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Does that seem like something that would work for that sort of flow? Do you think that would work for some other people as well?
Sure.
Okay. Well, my next question then kind of leads from that. And you mentioned something that I thought was really interesting, and this already came up a little bit in this conversation, and I heard it come up a little bit in my conversation a couple weeks ago with Alex Boone. He does sort of art journaling type stuff, and he's in the UK. And he was this little sort of repeating idea has come up several times. So that to me is a sign that it's important. But you mentioned that in some ways these junk journaling techniques can help people deal with like a block. And you mentioned in your email to me, maybe you could, if you feel comfortable, tell us a little bit more about that experience, because I think this might be something that other people share. But having this feeling of either paralysis or a mental block when you're out and you think you should be nature journaling in a certain way, but maybe you feel like a resistance there. Could you tell us about how the like junk journaling techniques can help with that block, or what that block feels like? Because I think that might be a common experience that some people are struggling with, but haven't maybe put it into words yet.
Sure. I have a pack that I keep in my car that I carry in and out. It gets a lot of miles on it, but it doesn't get any nature journaling in it. Because when I get out there, I just want to sit. I just want to be quiet. I just want to be still. Or I want to walk, or I want to ride my bike. And so I rarely would do any actual nature journaling in it. And so when I came home and I didn't have a page at least started, I felt really bad. I felt, there was a lot of guilt there, and I'm thinking, I'm trying to get people to nature journal and I can't even do it myself. And, and so my daughter does photography, but more and more she's getting into mixed media. And so we bat off ideas, and she says, Mom, you got to look at this. You got to do that. And I just started looking at some of the stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And I like it. It's really pretty, but I will never go and do the junk journaling that people are showing. I want to do something more nature related and more real nature, more stuff that I'm experiencing. And so that's how I started this. And then it wasn't until I was talking with you and I'm like, oh, gee, I kind of been doing this all along, but I was doing it with kids. So this journal that I showed you in the beginning, this is mine. This is, and that's why I'm not very far into it. It takes a lot of time to think up the stuff. But, wow. But one of the things that's helping me is that I have a class that I'm doing now. They're not kids, they're senior citizens, and I'm trying to encourage them. So sometimes it'll be like the topic that we're talking about. I'll go, okay, so how can I get a page to show them? Here's an example. And so that's how I do it.
Yeah. Okay. This is great, and I think there's a lot of resonance in the audience. I think people are really resonating with this topic. So I think my other question, sort of along in this sort of area about block, is you mentioned the word guilt. So If you feel comfortable talking about it, maybe we could go there, because I think this is something that will help other people, and maybe people don't always talk about. This isn't the thing that people post about all the time on the, social media when they're sharing, their pretty pages or whatever. So let's talk about that feeling, because I think a lot of people have had that experience of like, they have an intention, I've talked about in other videos, like having an intention, and I'm often in this sort of like coaching role where I'm like really rah pushing people to nature journal, and I'm trying to show like, oh, nature journal every day, da da da. And I think a lot of the other people are. So what is this? Can you maybe just kind of describe what it feels like and what is like going through your head there? I mean, you described a little bit how you got through the block, but like, what is this guilt thing? And maybe you have some ideas that could help other people about that.
Well, I go and I put out money for the nature journal. I put out money for supplies. I've got so many art supplies.
Yeah.
Probably Sublime Michaels. And they're not being used. And I feel it's like, this is kind of silly. And it really, it's debilitating, really. I mean, like you get this guilt, and then, it doesn't set you up to want to go and do it again. It doesn't feel good, and when I did it, when I really said, this is it, I'm doing it, and pushing myself. Once I got started on a page, like say going for a walk on the beach, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to do this page, and get really down and very disciplined about it. And I started doing it, started liking what I did. Sometimes it would flow better. And I think we are looking at ourselves, and we've got such high standards for ourselves that when we don't meet those marks, it's really, it kicks you right in the knees.
Yeah. So it sounds like I'm trying to understand some of the sources of the guilt, because I've had this experience too. But so it seems like one of them is, we have a tendency to buy supplies or whatever, or accumulate supplies. And then we have partly because of that, we feel like, okay, I have the supplies in my car. And then the other one is having an intention maybe of like how much nature journaling we're going to do. And then you also mentioned high standards of maybe about like what the product is going to look like. Can you think of any of other things that might be leading someone to feel guilt around not nature journaling enough?
It's just not allowing themselves to get out there and enjoy nature, and then coming, and even if they don't do anything out there, when they come back, maybe they pick up a shell, or maybe they pick up, they take a little cutting or something and bring it back. And even if you do something at home, it doesn't have to be. So we set up all these rules for ourselves. We hear what other people are doing on the shows and on, the classes that are out there and everything. And we think, oh, we need to be doing this too. And you don't have to do it. You make your own rules and then break them. Don't be afraid to break the rules. And I think that's one of the big things. We want to be right all the time. We want to be, do what the rule says, do this and then do this. And you know what? Maybe you don't start there. You start over here.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So maybe sort of lowering the bar of what our expectation is, and even if we just go out in nature and bring back a leaf or a shell or an idea or a memory, then that is like a good place to start. And then just kind of focus on having fun and the connection, and not having these like ideas of what we need to do. It seems like some of this a lot of these issues could be exacerbated by social media and our like access to information and access to all these visuals of what other people are doing. could exacerbate some of this feeling of guilt, because we see all of these things, and it looks like online everybody's making tons of beautiful pages all the time, and so that could be making this situation a little bit worse, perhaps.
One of the things I love, I think it was Roseanne Hansen, I'm not sure, somebody came up with Fearless Fridays,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is awesome. And I think there was something else, Working on It Wednesday.
Oh, that's great.
Where people put out stuff that, you know, isn't going to be put on the church ceiling or anything.
Yeah.
But they're doing it.
I love that. Okay, I hadn't known about the Working on It Wednesdays, and I'm going to try to remember this. It's not going to get put on the church ceiling or anything. That I need to put that into my active vocabulary, because that is great. Okay, that is super useful. Let's talk a little bit about teaching now, because you have a lot of teaching experience, and I think that even people who aren't teachers can learn from that. So it sounds like you've been teaching junk journaling with kids a lot, even before that was a term. What is one thing you have learned from all of your years of teaching?
I think a teacher needs to get into the shoes of the student and think about what they find interesting and what turns them on, instead of having your own agenda all the time. You know, there's this little phrase, you're not the sage on the stage.
Yeah.
Right? You're the guide on the side. And I think that's really important. And to guide, whether it's, I've done a lot more children education. This gig with the senior citizens is kind of new to me, and they're a whole other beast. I love them. But you really need to get into that headspace where they are, but knowing where you need to take them. You know, a lot of times the teachers are coming to you for a field trip, and they have X, Y, and Z that they have to meet. And it may not have anything to do with nature journaling. Or it may not have anything to do with what you think the kids need. And so you need to walk that balance with them, but keep them in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read somewhere a succinct quote that makes so much sense once you read it, but you realize it's not what everybody's always thinking, but that teaching is about what's happening in the other person's mind, not about what's happening in your mind, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as a teacher, it's easy to focus on like your ideas and forget about that.
And see where they're coming. Like I was doing had a class of 4-year-olds, and I gave them a paintbrush and a spoon and a big piece of cardboard. And they were like, I said, we're going to go take a walk. We're going to go on a discovery walk. And so we got to the mud flats, and we got some mud, and they dipped their brush in the mud and put it on that cardboard. And one little kid says to the other, he says, look, we're doing science and nature. Yeah, science, art, and science. And it was like, from a 4-year-old, it was like, whoa. So
that is awesome. Wow, I think that I'm gonna have to try that in one of my classes. So how have you found junk journaling to work with kids versus adults? It sounds like right now you're getting an opportunity to work with both. Like, how have you noticed it working with kids?
Well, there's no rules.
Yeah.
You know, the difficulty is there's no rules. You know, kids want to be right, just like adults. They want to do it the right way. They don't want somebody to come and critique them. You know, you're doing it wrong. There's no wrong. Just do it. You know, there is there's an activity that comes out. Bridges to the Natural World is a phenomenal curriculum supplement, just like Project Wild, Learning Tree, and all that. And one of the activities in there is called Do You See What I See? And so it's really simple. You just send the kids out and say, pick up 5 objects, doesn't matter what objects they are, and bring them back and arrange them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then you take time and go around and you talk to the kids. So, all right, so you have this. Why did you arrange it that way? Well, because that's what I thought it was, and this other kid makes a face with the leaves and sticks and stuff. And this other kid goes and organizes everything by size. Somebody else does it all by color. And at the end, I'm going, oh, okay, and at the end I'll say, okay, who didn't follow the rules? And they all kind of like look at each other. And it's like, everybody followed the rules. Just pick 5 objects and arrange them. And I think that's a big thing for kids to understand, that you're going to see something a little differently than I'm going to see it. And that's okay. It's okay.
I should try this activity for next time I'm leading a group of adults nature journaling.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, that's a great one. All right, 2 last questions about kids. What about kids who are really resistant to nature journaling? Someone posted, I wish I had time to follow up on the post more. You saw that?
Yeah.
What do you think about kids who are just really resistant to nature journaling? Maybe should be in quotation marks because it's hard to know like what exactly that kid is resisting. But what do you think about that situation?
I say don't push it. Don't push it. There's a lot of reasons why that child is resisting. It could be that they feel uncomfortable about drawing, or they feel uncomfortable about writing. They don't know how to write yet. There's other ways to do it. Let them have a camera and take a photograph. Let them tell you, and then you write it down. And that's a good way to interact. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but don't force. I know myself. Don't force me into anything because you won't get anything out of me, and kids are the same way.
So maybe what we can learn, maybe one of the lessons is that this concept of like buy-in or not forcing kids when they're resisting something, maybe that applies equally as much to ourselves as adults, is that if we're not feeling that, maybe pushing this idea of just like, oh, I'm just going to, through like my willpower and self-discipline, push myself. And if I don't do it, then there's something wrong with me.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. This is great. I'm just going to share this comment here. I'm going to give some love to the people in the chat. Nature Sketches is here with her family, I'm assuming. Angie, Karen, Tamara. Jose is here from Spain. Karen's in San Diego, I think. Tess, I think, is here from Australia. Charlotte, UK. I think Rebonto's still here from UK. So we've got an international audience here. And I just want to share with you, Sue, that Aneta from Nature Sketches hopes that you write a book. So people are appreciating what you're sharing here. Are you ready for the lightning round, Sue?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's make our best lightning sounds. Nice. Okay. So first, maybe you answered this already when you were showing your journal. Is coffee an essential art supply?
Absolutely. As long as you don't drink it. I hate coffee.
So you just put it on your paper, don't drink it. Wow. Okay. All right. Are you organized or messy?
Yes.
Okay. Do you like nature journaling or making art alone or with other people?
I would like to say I like doing it with other people, but I really like doing it on my own.
I think that is the predominant answer that I get from people. Does your family understand your art?
My daughter does. My husband, not so much.
Good answer. Do you eat snacks while you're making art and nature journaling?
Sure.
Okay, snacks. Are you a perfectionist?
No.
No, that's a good one. Would you rather nature journal plants or animals?
Plants. Animals run away.
You can't put the animals in your packing tape as easily.
Oh, you can, but you get a nice odor to your
Ink or graphite?
ink.
Do you ever put art supplies in your mouth?
Only if I'm trying to hold something.
Okay. I know some people who clean their brushes in their mouth.
No.
Do you like the big picture or the micro?
I like taking the big picture and putting it in micro.
Ooh, that is a skill. All right, what face do you make when someone looks at your art and says, "You are talented, I could never do that"? Nice. Okay, so now onto our sort of longer ones. If you were stuck on a deserted island and could only bring 5 art supplies, what would you bring?
Packing tape.
Ooh.
My watercolors.
Okay. It's 2.
My water brush. So that's 3. I guess paper, but
Okay.
you know, I could use other things too. You know, I was thinking about like, there's other things in nature I could use. I could use berries instead of watercolors, and I could use a feather instead of brush. And so I would throw paper. Okay, paper. I don't know. I think I'd like a good marker, like a not a highlighter, something that would give me maybe a highlighter, maybe like a white pen or something.
Great. All right. Nice choices. First time packing tape has ever been included on someone's list for that. If you could nature journal with any historical figure or junk journal, make art or explore in nature, who would you want to spend some time with?
Juliet Lowe.
Juliet Lowe. How do you spell that?
Juliet.
Is that with
J-U-L.
two T's and an E at the end?
Yeah.
Okay. And last name Lowe?
Lowe. Do you know who that is?
Lowe?
L-O-W.
I will have to look her up.
That's the founder of Girl Scouts.
Oh, nice. Okay.
He was a character. Yeah.
Great. Let's see here. If you could have a nature journaling superpower, what would it be?
I think if I had a nature journaling superpower, I think it would be to convince other people that they can do it too.
Wow, that's another first. That's cool. All right, and then last lightning round question. Which fictional character from literature would be best at nature journaling?
That was it on your list. Fictional character.
If you don't, if nothing from a book comes up, a movie character could be fine as well.
I don't know.
Do you want to choose from some options?
Yes.
Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit, Alice in Wonderland, Darth Vader from Star Trek.
I like Bilbo.
Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Like,
All
all
right.
the adventures he went on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he would be into the sort of more tactile junk journaling style of nature journaling, actually, to tell the truth. All right, nice job. You survived the lightning round. So just a couple more sort of closing questions and stuff here. What is your dream project? Like, if you could do anything with your work, what would you do? Or it could be a personal dream project.
To finish this nature journal before the end of the year.
Great. Okay, that sounds realistic and doable.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so and then let's see here. What do you think of the future of nature journaling is?
I think the future is just getting more people out there. I think, you know, this whole thing that we went through in the past couple of years, where we were locked inside, we realized that we needed to be outside. We needed to be connected. And I think that more than ever before. And I think that nature journaling has a real niche in that. And one thing that I think is important is that you don't have to go to the beach or go to the woods. You can go right outside your back door. And I think that's an important thing. I took a class in writing about nature several years ago in college, and the professor went around and had us introduce ourselves. And when and where were we last in nature? And they were talking about, oh, I was at Yosemite, and oh, I was down in the Bahamas, and I was, you know, here, there. And I said, I don't know how you guys got into this building. I said, I walked out my door and I saw a dandelion today. You know, I'm like, how did they get there? Were they beamed into that chair? You're out there all the time.
Yeah.
Notice that. You know, so I think nature journaling has a big role to play in helping us settle ourselves down and just taking notice of what's out there.
Nice. Wow, that's great. For everyone who's watching right now, it seems like there seems to be over 20 people watching. Give this show a thumbs up if you've, you know, appreciated some of the wisdom that Sue has, you know, shared with us today. Give the show a thumbs up and share it with someone you think that should watch it. And then my sort of last couple of questions here are, is there anything else, you know, that I didn't ask you about that is something that is an important topic or something that you think we really should have a chance to talk about that I forgot to ask?
No, I think you covered a lot, Marley. But I just to come back with that, you know, nature's outside. Nature's all around us. Sometimes nature's indoors. I've got my plants in the background.
Yeah, I was noticing that.
Oh, that's just a little bit of them. I got them all. So, and you've got other things like, I don't know about you, but I've got shells and I've got sticks. I've got stuff all over the place. My right above my windows is a big thing of branches that I'm getting ready to put some twinkle lights in, and you know, just it's all around us.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a really important topic. And speaking of that, in an upcoming show, I think it's going to be 2 weeks from today, perhaps. We're still settling on the date. I'm going to be talking to people about mobility and access and nature journaling, because I think that's a really important topic. Not everybody can go on huge hikes or has access to those places. So we're going to be talking about that and hearing from people's experiences, getting some tips. So that show is going to be coming up. And then another show that I want to share about that is coming up on next Wednesday is pressing flowers in nature journaling. So a lot of stuff that Sue shared today will be applicable to that, but I'm going to talk about some flower pressing techniques. And then there's something else, but if you click on the notification little flag thing or a bell down below, then you'll get notified when new episodes are coming out. Sue, if people want to find out more about what you're doing, is there a place that they can go and find out more?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page, Second Nature Connections.
Great.
And I post stuff of what I'm doing or what I think is relevant.
Awesome. So that's on Facebook for people that are on Facebook. And maybe if you have any other kind of ideas about what Sue has shared, post something down in the comments below. It's been so great in the chat. And Sue, this has been I think this has probably been one of the most watched live shows in a long time. And people were really resonating with a lot of what you shared in the comments. So thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. I love what you do, Marley. It's just tremendous. So keep it up.
I started a little bit of a junk journal here, and you can tell it's a junk journal because when you close it, the pages don't close all the way.
It's got a lot of junk in it.
Yeah, I've been pressing flowers. Let me show some of my. I've been experimenting with pressing flowers, and then I finished my first thing of Mod Podge. So I went through my first bottle of. I didn't even know what Mod Podge was like a couple months ago, and now I'm already running out of it. Let me show one other. Here's another plant that I pressed, and then I put some acrylic paint behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me show a couple more. I've been really excited. I like how you did those maps. So I've been trying. Oh, look, here's a funny one. Ooh, oh my gosh, what are those?
That's fall leaves that I stamped out with just a paper punch.
That is so cool. Oh my God.
And I'll tell you what, this page is a failure because what I put on top of it was not the right kind of covering. What I put on top of it should have like made it a little on the glossy side. And this is like, if you see it up close in person, it's all like pasty.
So but the pattern is amazing. It's a mesmerizing pattern there.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to have to go, if I don't have anything scheduled right after this, I think I'm going to have to go make some art right now. And I really think this is sort of like cutting edge in the nature journaling community and sort of hybridizing these and the whole possibility that this could be a way for people to get through that mental block. I think that could be really huge. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining from all over the world. It's been an awesome show.
Thank you.
All right. Bye everyone.